Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of Middle-earth? Ryan the Cyber Hobbit here for a very unique unboxing. This is a life-size Heart of the Mountain, the Arkenstone by Dreamspheres. This was handcrafted by the very innovative artist, John Lowe. This is not an official Lord of the Rings licensed Arkenstone, so he actually calls it the Heart. But as far as I can tell, this is the best recreation of an Arkenstone I have ever seen. He creates these using secret techniques that involve over 40 separate stages, and since each sphere is handcrafted, no two are identical. I got this on John's website, dreamspheres.co.uk, and I also want to mention he seems to make a lot more than just an Arkenstone replica, such as the sills and the Seeing Stone. And since I can't wait any longer, let's get to the unboxing. The box is a little rough, but I'm assuming that's USPS's fault. Okay, wow. This is amazing looking. It really does look like an Arkenstone. Like, no joke, this is it. I mean, besides having its own light source, which is kind of understandable because where would you put the batteries? But how cool is this thing? You can really see basically every color in this at the same time. It's amazing. I feel like I could look at this thing all day. No wonder Thorin was obsessed. Every shard of color seems to change the instant you rotate it. Just like look at the colors bouncing off of my hands too. So apparently this is not glass, though it does seem like it would be, but it's made with something that's supposed to be many times stronger than glass. Although obviously I'm not going to try to break it, but unbelievable. As far as Hobbit Arkenstone props go, I don't think you can find anything better. Speaking of other Arkenstones, I do actually have another Arkenstone. This one was actually officially licensed by Badali Jewelry. First off, the shape is wrong, and this one actually has a big flaw in that the color that you see, they're actually cheating. They have a circle on the back that only if it's lined up correctly can you actually see the color. And not only that, but all the reflective light that you're seeing is because they've cut it. It's not reflecting the light from the inside of the stone, but the outside. So although I've enjoyed this one until now, this Dreamsphere is putting it to shame. So one of the things I've been thinking about is how and where to display this in my collection. And when I looked up here, a thought occurred to me. What if I were to put it here? Though, how to mount it? I own a 3D printer. Why not try to print something? So after spending a little bit of time in Tinkercad, this is what I came up with. Essentially the idea is I wanted it to look a little bit, what's the word? Dwarven, I guess? Dwarven shaped. So using this dice, I sort of got a general idea of the size of the Arkenstone and then built this around it, with the idea that I could remove this part to put the Arkenstone inside. And then I had another idea, why not try to incorporate some sort of light source behind the Arkenstone? So then I came up with this. I designed it to house one of those little puck lights that I found on Amazon, and to hold it in place I made this little green part you see here that essentially is like almost like a little clip that would secure in place to allow the cord to run out. So I went to sleep and woke up the next day and thought that this looked just a little bit plain and boring. So that's when I decided to make it a little bit more interesting. So I went and found some dwarven patterns and then used those to engrave into the mount itself. It's obviously nothing compared to the original Arkenstone mount, but this is my own design, so. After about a day of 3D printing, I then coated the parts with some sandable filler primer and got to sanding. I sanded for about an hour in total, but here's a quick time lapse. And if you're curious, here's the sandable primer and then the paints that I plan to use. These are automotive paints, so always use a mask when using them. First I covered the parts with a black spray paint. I didn't paint this part because it's going to be slightly visible and my walls are also white. After everything was dry, I then covered the main part with a bunch of frog tape. Then it was time for some coats of gold. After that was dry, I thought it looked pretty good, but there were definitely some parts that needed some touching up. It's not perfect, but it's much better. Here's an example of how the Arkenstone looks with the light behind it. All that's left is to put it together and then put it on the wall. For a spur-of-the-moment idea, I think it turned out pretty nice. The light really helps to bring out all the colors. And trust me, it looks much better in person. It's kind of hard to film a light source with your camera. I think the mount fits in pretty well with my other United Cutlery pieces that are also sort of like a black and gold. And here's how I usually keep this room. Unfortunately, my camera really washes out the light, so it's kind of hard to see the Arkenstone. But I think it looks pretty good in person. Great job, John Lowe. I also put it on a smart outlet. Google, there's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. Google, turn off Arkenstone. Google, turn on Arkenstone. Google, do not weep, for not all tears are evil. Alright, that about wraps up this video. If you guys liked it, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe, or maybe even just give it a thumbs up. Let the good old YouTube algorithms know this was a cool video. But until next time, bye-bye.